What I like most about harvest is the pressure that's on you the whole day. The grapes just keep on coming, keep on coming, keep on coming, and you just trying to get on top of everything, but you can't. But at the end of the day, everything was done well.
The thing what I like about harvest is the early morning. It's like the early morning picks, and yeah, like the aromas of the grapes and like that. Yeah.
My favorite part of harvest is obviously receiving the grapes and receiving the grapes in good conditions so that you can make some good wines and so on. And yeah, the other favorite part is where you start fermenting the wines, you're looking at how the wines are doing and so on, putting their pumping times and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's my favorite part really when we do the fermentation of the wine.
My favorite part about harvest is it feels like a constant adrenaline rush. Every day there's something new happening, constant change, a little bit like organized chaos, and I thrive in that environment.
So what do I like about the harvest, and what do I like most? Well, this year is my 31st vintage and long time. And I think the wonderful thing is it's different every time. Every year is different, and people who farm will understand when I say that we're focused on the weather, we're focused on climate, and climatically the weather has a huge influence on the vintage. It determines the personality and the character of the wines, and keeping in mind we only get one opportunity every 12 months to create something, literally from what starts off as any other fruit, to convert that first to juice and then to wine, and then to see how the wines turn out. And even though some of them have pedigrees, it's interesting that in certain years you get the underdog coming through, and that's exciting that you also have new plantings coming through, and it's always different. I think the fact that one can create something and then see the efforts of your handiwork within 12 to 18 months, that's pretty satisfying.
In my first harvest, I didn't know it was such a lot of work, but I wish I've known that this career wasn't supposed to be for me, but after a while it picked me and I just stuck to it.
Alright, my first year, say here at Hartenberg for the harvest is like, I never thought like it would be like long hours and at early mornings, late hours, and yeah, but once you are through with it, and it's quite, I'm happy with it, and I love it.
I think when I first did my first house, it was obviously not at Hartenberg, it was somewhere else and so on. But which what I've known is that at first I didn't know that a specific cultivar is a specific wine. I just thought red wine is just red wine. So I didn't know whether you get Shiraz or whether you get Merlot or whether you get Pinotage and so on. So I just knew that. But when I grew up, red grapes was just red wine, and that's it. And after all, somebody would have said, this specific tank, I'm gonna say it's a Shiraz, and that specific tank, I'm gonna say it's a Merlot. So I didn't know a specific cultivar was a specific wine and so on. So, but yeah, at Hartenberg, my specific red wine that I like and is the Shiraz. Obviously, we are very big on Shiraz and so on. So I wish I would have known at first what red wine was specifically, were the specific wine and so on. So yeah.
I wish I started tasting the different parcels of grapes as they came in during my first harvest. Each batch is kept separately, and I wish I tasted and made bit more notes of each of those before they were blended in the final blends before bottling.
I think what I'd wished to have known in my first vintage, my first harvest, is the extremely close connection between vineyard and cellar. We were trained eventually as winemakers, and I think initially you think it stands apart, but over time, over the years, you've realized that you're spending 10 months of the year preparing the product in the vineyard and only 2 or 3 months really in the cellar. So I think today, if I look back, my first vintage was in Collersdorp, and I never got out of the cellar really, and I couldn't think that today we could make wine like that. You need to know exactly what's happening in the vineyard to make the picking decision. Probably the singularly most important decision you make through any 1 year.
In the end of the day, a big hearty stew, just to fill you up and get you going.
Yeah, and at the end of the harvest, I really like a big meal, like a Greek salad and like a braai and stuff like that. Yeah, like a big meal.
My favorite meal during harvest is obviously at harvest you're working long hours and so on, and it's hard work and so on. So you really need a sort of like a heavy sort of style of meal. And normally we order from our kitchen. We order some of the favorite Hartenberg burger and so on. But from the other side, I normally like my spaghetti bolognese. It's also like a heavy sort of eating, because as I've said, harvest time is a very hard time. You work long hours, work through your breakfast, work through your lunch. So spaghetti bolognese and a burger for me, at the end of the day, does the thing, right?
The meal I look forward to the most is definitely a hearty lasagna, something warm and comforting after a hard day's work. And as a special treat, Hartenberg's cheesecake is absolutely my favorite.
So in vintage, we invariably end up working longer hours than normal, and we end up eating as a team at night, often 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the evening. And I think my favorite meal would be coq au vin, made with some good Hartenberg Shiraz. It just adds a special touch, and it's really heartwarming food, lots of flavor, and especially if there's lots of nice onions mixed into the broth, pretty good stuff.